Get started. I'm Ashlyn. I'm an assistant director here in the admissions office at Rose-Hulman. Tonight we're going to talk about our exciting new Rose Squared program. I have a couple colleagues here with me to chat with you. I will kind of be your host. So I will be reading any questions that you submit. I know a lot of students pre-submitted questions as well. And so I'll be going through those too. So if you asked a question when you registered, I will get to those as well as try to get through any questions in the chat. I'm going to ask everyone to please keep your microphones off. And I think it might just be a little bit easier if we all turn our cameras off so we can focus on Dr. Downing's presentation about Rose Squared. And so it's not super distracting or anything. So we've got a ton of people here, which is super exciting. And I'm admitting a few more before we get started because I don't want anybody to miss out. Okay, got one more here and then we'll get started. So again, I have Dr. Craig Downing here with me. He's going to talk a little bit about the Rose Squared program. I also have Melinda Middleton here with me from the Financial Aid Office, and she's here to answer any questions you may have about how this program could impact your financial aid or the cost of Rose-Hulman. So I'm going to go ahead and have Dr. Downing take it off and talk a little bit about the program and the ins and outs of it, and then we'll start with questions.
Thank you, Ashlyn, for this opportunity this evening, and welcome to all that are joining us on this Zoom call. As Ashlyn said, my name is Craig Downing. I am the Associate Dean for Lifelong Learning. To put that in perspective or layman's terms, it is the graduate studies, all graduate programs, and any professional education programs that we do that are non-degree seeking, so professional development, continuing education. I am also fortunate to hold the position of Department Head of Engineering Management, which is the host organization for the pilot of the R-Squared program. Tonight, my goal is to share with you in broad strokes the overview of the program and some of the benefits, and attempt to answer any questions that you guys may have. So to begin, the R-Squared program is a program designed to capitalize on a double counting of credits in the 500 levels, and also an acknowledgement of AP transfer IB credits that a student may bring into Rose-Hulman. Each of the programs that have been developed in the R-Squared program have an outline plan of study that takes into consideration a unique set of 30 hours. Typically, this is a Calc 1, Calc 2, a humanities course, a science elective, a math elective. However, those are not the only courses that can be used toward the degree. Through the department head and the student advisor, develop a 4-year plan to have that student complete his or her degree within a 4-year time frame. The idea was predicated based upon the fact that we want to maximize the learning experiences of the students when they're with Rose-Hulman, and also to put them in a better position from a professional perspective, meaning they leave Rose-Hulman as the most marketable possible within the time that they are with us. We have seen over the last few years many students that have engaged in professional employment prior to graduation, either co-ops, internships, or study abroad, that have come back to Rose-Hulman with a renewed perspective and seeing the value of adding in some of the engineering management curriculum. We also have a small population of practitioners that are working currently in a full-time capacity that have returned to the program to upskill or diversify their skill set so that they can be better employees to their employers. We have seen that the marketability of students is not always defined in dollars and cents, but also defined in opportunities. One of the primary benefits of having a bachelor's of science in your technical degree or your science degree or your mathematics degree and coupling it with an engineering management degree is that you, the student, have the opportunity to work between the micro level and the macro level. And to put that into a different perspective, as a mechanical engineer, my primary focus is to think about my design and how to solve that particular problem or concern or develop that solution for an opportunity that is presented. So in that particular case, I'm working at a micro level, really siloed in my behaviors and my practices in my work. However, from the engineering management perspective, I want to raise the microscope so that I am seeing more of the enterprise and how my actions as a mechanical, electrical, civil, mathematician, physician, efficiency, and more importantly, how might I be more is that students are hired as engineers, scientists, and mathematicians, but are given positions within the organization that gives them a variety of pathways to move through the agency. And with those moves, some are lateral, some are not, but we see that those students have a greater slope in their trajectory through the organization. So if you would, I'm a mathematician by training. Instead of having a 45-degree slope, maybe these students have a 60-degree slope, meaning that they have a faster rise through the organization. And what is very nice about this is students have the opportunity to get off where they want. They have more option, they have more autonomy, and the opportunities are theirs for them to then choose. If individuals were to ask for some level of financial difference that an undergraduate versus a graduate with both degrees would see, I would be unable to give a specific dollar amount. However, I do know that most organizations, if not all, do recognize that students that have both degrees are more valuable to them, and they will show that value in some level of total compensation, whether that's true salary dollars or if that's salary dollars plus some level of benefit. Since our students are marketable all over the world, and I mean that very literally, it is difficult to say if it's a 5,000, if it's a 2,000, if it's a 10,000. It really depends on location and the strength of that organization and the amount of value that you bring to that organization. From the academic perspective, our four-year plans allow students to provide interest in their freshman year, sophomore year, and junior year, that they would like to pursue the program. We then would devise a plan of study with their current transcript that shows the amount of credit that they have coming in, and then lay out an ideal four-year plan. That four-year plan allows that student, depending on his or her degree, to begin interacting with the engineering management curriculum, in some cases in their fifth quarter, meaning second quarter of year two, in the form of a seminar, and depending on the level of professional experience or industrial or private sector experience the student has, they may be able to engage in an actual graduate level course. We try to at least wait till year 3 for students to start taking graduate level courses, because we want them to have the perspective and or the experience of working in the private sector. That could be for a major organization through an internship or co-op, or it could be working with a family business, but looking at those operations through different lenses, meaning just not a son or daughter working with the family, but as an engineer or as a manager contributing to the day-to-day activities of that organization. Once those students start to take courses in the junior year, we begin to run parallel transcripts, one for the undergraduate, one for the graduate. And at the end of the 4 years, both the student will have completed both degrees. It will be a pleasure to watch your student walk across the stage during the first half of the ceremony to receive his or her Bachelor's of Science degree, and then come back and join the second half of this ceremony, the commencement, to receive his or her master degree in engineering management. And so we think that would be a powerful way for your student to leave the institution, knowing that he or she has a great level of marketability that will provide them an element of distinction from others graduating in the same year in the same academic discipline. So not only will you leave Rose-Hulman with your Bachelor's of Science, but you will leave Rose-Hulman with a Master of Engineering Management. I hope this overview about the program. And Ashlyn, at this time, I guess it would be most beneficial to dive into some of the specifics that our participants may have at this time.
Okay, so just starting kind of some easy questions, I guess, specifically about how to apply for the program, where they can find the application, what's the deadline, and maybe when they would find out if they were admitted into the program.
Well, there is a two-stage process. The first stage is once the student has been admitted to Rose-Hulman in their freshman year, they may download the concurrent pursuance interest form. And what it does, financial aid department, the associate, we then, in that process, use his or her material, meaning their transcript, their incoming classes, and the plan of study for their baccalaureate degree. And we flesh out the formal admittance to the R-squared plan, I'm sorry, the R-squared program outside of the concurrent pursuant intent form. That is all the signal that we need that will allow you to become aware of different activities related to the engineering management program, related to R-squared, and anything that could be to the student's benefit.
Hey, Craig, before you go on, can you repeat what you just said? You froze a couple times. And
My apologies.
I'm sorry.
Let me start over. So no formal admission process. The signal to the graduate studies, the registrar, the financial aid is the concurrent pursuance intent form. That is done anytime during the freshman year. And that gives us the signal to make sure that the student is receiving all communications related to the R-squared program, and also helps his or her advisor begin to track and make sure that the student is making progress towards both degrees. The second stage is the formal stage of when that student is actually going to apply to the graduate program. This is the formal application that the student will do in their junior year. At that particular time, that student will fill out a regular admissions application through our engineering CAS platform, and we will at that point in time, ensure that the student has a competitive grade point average of greater than 3.0, both in their undergraduate courses and in any courses that they have taken in the graduate program. If those two elements are satisfactory, meaning 3.0 in both, that student will be admitted to the graduate program.
Thank you. Okay, specifically for credits, I know you talked about this a little bit. What specific credits are needed to qualify? How will students know if their credits from maybe a dual credit course or a transfer course would be accepted for the program?
Student will Rose-Hulman, then that process will happen on the front end as they go through the setting up for their initial advisement. The easiest way for us to know which classes count are those classes that have been recognized through AP credit, those that are recognized through an IB set of courses that are transferred that were taken through a higher education institute, a community college, or a four-year institution. And then after that, specific courses that have taken the science department.
Hey, Craig, you keep freezing up a little bit. I don't know if it's just the video.
I'm showing 4 bars here. Now I just dropped to 0 bars. Let me do this. Let me drop video, or would you suggest that I try another machine, because this machine is what I've been using recently?
Let's just try it without video for a little bit, see if that helps.
If it does not, I have a secondary system waiting to go. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And so that evaluation of the credits will happen as they're admitted to the program. Then students that take courses that fall outside of the AP category, the IB category, or directly through a institute of higher education, a community college or a four-year institution,
All right, I think maybe we should have you try your other computer.
well, I'm going to deploy my secondary system here, and so I apologize. I always am prepared for stuff like this.
Well, we'll go
So
ahead and have Melinda answer some questions about costs and how it will affect financial aid. So Melinda, I don't know if you want to just kind of give a little bit of an overview of how the program may affect this area from your end.
Okay, so it really doesn't affect it much at all. So what happens at that junior year when you start taking graduate courses and undergraduate courses, the federal government and the state, if you're from the state of Indiana, doesn't allow you to use any of their grants. So what Rose-Hulman's going to do is at that point, if you lose, let's say you go to 6 hours undergrad, you go 8 hours graduate, makes 14, if I counted that right, that's 12. See, that's why I'm not an engineer. So if you go below 12 hours as an undergrad, you can't have all those grants. So Rose-Hulman is going, whatever grant money you lose, Rose-Hulman's going to pick up that amount. So you're not going to lose anything when you get into your junior year. If you get a grant or state grant, because state grant, you have to have at least 12 credit hours. So you're going to lose all your state grant, but Rose-Hulman is going to pick up and pay that grant for you.
And is there any other additional costs that would be associated with this program at all?
No, it's just the same as undergrad. You have your few fees, and then you have tuition, and then room and board if you live on campus. So there's no additional cost at all to go into this program. It's the same cost if you were undergrad. So it's a really good program, because as a graduate student, if you just was not into this program, you would not get any institutional aid. You would not get any, well, you could get graduate tuition, but you would not get any of the grants. You'd just be eligible for loans. So it's a really good program.
Absolutely, yeah. We do have one question. I don't know if you want to answer it on camera, Melinda. When will financial aid packages come out this year? I know that's not what we're here for, but while we're waiting.
I know, that's fine. We are hoping mid-January, if the computer systems are all up to date and ready to go, mid-January. We're working really hard right now before we go on break, working on those systems. And when we come back, we'll do some testing and hopefully get them out in January, mid-January.
Great. Awesome. Okay.
And another thing, if you haven't filed your FAFSA, I would really recommend that go ahead and file that, since we're talking about this. File it and have it in before January 1. You can look on your applicant portal to see if we have your FAFSA. And if it happens that you filed it and just didn't put Rose-Hulman on there, you can go back on, put Rose-Hulman on it, and then we'll get the data.
Thank you. Okay, so while we wait for just a couple minutes, and again, I'm so sorry, maybe there's a few other questions that I could try to answer for you all. So just to kind of go a little bit more, oh, here's Craig. No, I don't. Okay.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
All right.
Oh, can you hear us now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, you sound loud and clear. So we've talked about cost and how it will affect financial aid. Was there anything else that we needed to add to specifically like the application process of the program? I think we've pretty well covered that now. We were talking about credit transfers, I think, actually. Maybe if you just would go back over kind of the credit transfer, because it was kind of hard to hear there at the end.
Okay, well, the easiest way for us to recognize credit for the initial 30 hours that we would need to see are through the advanced placement, the IB programs, transfer credit for courses that were taken through a higher education institution, either community college or four-year college. And then for those classes that are dual credit, those classes are going to be evaluated by myself and each of the departments that are impacted, meaning from the math department, the science departments, and then the humanities and social science and arts departments. And then once we do that evaluation, which takes normally a short amount of time, day or two at most, then we can alert that student to which classes will be approved and which ones will not be approved.
Okay, so moving right along, we had a lot of questions pre-submitted about the course load itself and how manageable it would be, you know, with, you know, a normal Rose-Hulman bachelor's degree. Is there anything you can add to the coursework, you know, course load? Will it be more than what they could expect from a traditional four-year program? If that makes sense.
Yes, the amount of workload that individuals will experience over the 4 years will be on par with other students that are on campus. There could be in certain academic disciplines where there is a quarter or two or one or two terms where that student may have an increased workload, and that's where we, as the advisors, are going to try to find the best combination of courses to ensure that student still has the ability to perform well. There are some courses that are easier than others, and then that allows us to arrange them in a way that is still um, providing opportunity for that student to progress through the 4-year plan and can complete in the same amount of time.
Great, thank you. We also got a lot of questions about double majoring with R squared. Specifically, we had questions, well, if you could double major, I'll just start with that. Can you do a double major and do Rose squared?
You can, but the ability to complete it in 4 years would be a bit challenging.
Yeah.
We have not planned for that scenario. However, that is one of the things that, with work through the advisors for all 3 disciplines, meaning the 2 undergraduate majors and the myself from the engineering management perspective, we can figure out ways to design the plan and see how many quarters it will actually take, if it takes more than 4.
Okay. Then we specifically had a question about doing data science as a second major. That you probably might have the same answer for that as you did the last question.
Yes, that is true. Data science as a second major. Our initial approach in rolling out the program was designed or predicated based upon a student pursuing a single major at Rose-Hulman. Again, I imagine that my colleagues, through our advisement and communications with the student, can look at the needs of both degrees and see how it will overlay or interact with the master's degree to see if it is doable within a period of time that is still acceptable to the student. We cannot, however, say that at this point in time, without looking at it, that the student would be able to complete that within 4 years, or 12 quarters, I should say.
Right. We had a couple questions specifically about engineering physics. Can they study engineering physics and combine that with the R squared program?
They can, but that is one of the more challenging degrees, and you will see that it is not listed in our list of curriculum that is paired with the engineering management. And one of the reasons for that is the full series of physics that is needed. The department head has indicated it can be done, but it is not as clean as the other degrees. And for students that are pursuing the engineering physics, is if they do have significant credit coming in, he will, or we will, sit down and flesh out a plan to see if it will actually work for that student. But it was not one of the original ones because of the need for the 3 quarters of physics coming in the door.
Right. And I just want to clarify that pretty much any other major is fair game with this program, correct?
That is correct.
So any other major we offer can be paired with this program.
That is correct.
Yes. Okay. So we had a couple questions specifically to certain programs. Yep. I did see a question about, can I pick up a minor during my time in this program?
Yes, you can. We will be strategic so that when choosing elements of the minor, we're choosing elements of the minor at the highest level so that we can acquire the best acknowledgement of that. Depending on the major, if it is a humanities or social science major, we will do that within the courses that are required for humanities and social science plus whichever any others. If it is from a say math degree, program, we can strategically choose 400, 500 level math courses that will support the minor, but also be recognized as elements of their degree completion, so that it gives them the maximum utilization of those courses in the minor.
Absolutely. Okay. We had a ton of questions, and I've seen a lot of questions come through already this evening about how will this program affect my ability to participate in extracurriculars such as varsity athletics, ROTC, Greek life, other organizations that may take a lot of a student's time.
It doesn't. You are. What's a good way to say that? It is not the factor. The pursuit of the degree is not prohibitive of the co-curricular and extracurricular programs that we have, including sports. We make sure that either in the engineering management program, a great majority of our classes are offered through online mediums, and it allows for flexibility. And then the sheer workload is not going to be greater than what a student would normally see. So the combination of flexibility because of delivery and a great majority of the classes being offered during the standard time of the day, students can participate in Greek life, athletics, and any other co-curricular activities that are on campus.
Right. Yeah. Great. Okay. Some other questions we had. This one I think is a kind of easy answer, but
okay.
Would we have a choice for the master's, or is it just a master's of engineering management?
The first part of that, the master's, is that concerning the master's of science or the master?
Yeah, sorry, that wasn't a very well-worded question. Would you have a choice between, it has to be engineering management, or can it be something else? At
this current time, engineering management is the first of the programs that have acknowledged plans of study. In civil engineering, they are working on theirs, and other departments are working on them as they see the demand or the ability to facilitate them. What we don't want to do is begin a student on a path towards a master's degree in his or her home department and not have the variety of courses necessary to facilitate that degree all the way through.
Right. Okay. Here's another question we had pre-submitted. If I get into the program, am I obligated to do it, or do I have the option to like opt out? Is it binding? So the way I'm understanding it, you start taking some courses, it's kind of worked into your plan, but you have to maintain that GPA and so on. So does a student have to stick with it if they decide they don't want to do it?
The answer is no. What they would do is at whatever time they felt that was appropriate for him or her to separate from the two programs, we would just make note of it. Any progress that they have made towards the master's degree, that credit will still be there. And they would be encouraged to pursue their undergraduate degree with their original plan, sans any engineering management. And if that student chose to complete that engineering management degree at some later point in time through online courses, then they would be able to do so. But at that time, it would fall outside of the R-squared program. They would just come back as a regular graduate student, but they will receive the credits that they've already taken before they separated from the R-squared program.
Great. And perfect, that answered one of the other questions as well. Yep. I just saw a question come in. Again, I think we talked about this a little bit at the beginning, but we can go again. What is engineering managed specifically?
Well, engineering management is the exercise of leadership and management in technical environments. The greatest majority of persons who are considered an engineering management through a practical pathway, meaning a non-degreed engineering management, has cut his or her teeth operating as an engineer or scientist or technician, and has acquired the managerial skill over a period of time to the point that they're able to lead small areas or large areas within an organization, and they are vacillating between their technical capability and their leadership capability, but more on the leadership capability, and rather being focused on a particular product, service, or device, they are looking at a family, or a group of projects at any one particular time. So their breadth and depth of engagement with the organization grows as an engineering manager versus them serving as an engineer.
Mhm. Another question, we just kind of different question, but
Yes.
If the student does not have the full 30 hours of AP credit found eligible, is it possible to pursue this joint program over an extra quarter or two?
It is. It is. We have found that it has been one of the questions I fielded the most over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and what we have found is that there is still a way for us to, and when I say manipulate, it is not in a negative way, but to arrange the course schedule for that student to minimize the number of quarters they are at Rose-Hulman. We can either do that through what we consider an overload, an extra class in a particular quarter, or we could stand up and say, well, it might take you 4 years and 1 quarter, or 4 years and 2 quarters. We've seen the 4 years and 2 quarters happen very easily, no pressure, no sweat. We actually have 5 or 6 students that are doing that currently. And the 4 year and 1 quarter, we see that often as well. And those are the students that come in with 20 some odd credit hours, and they have done something over the summer, and they've been able to position themselves to be able to complete in 4 years and a quarter, where that quarter is a summer session and or a fall, winter, or spring session term, I should say.
Great. Another great question. Are we able to participate in a study abroad program and do Rose Squared?
Yes, you are. In the particular case, when you're studying abroad, the goal will be to find courses that will continue the progress toward the degree. And one of the great things about the engineering management is that if a student falls out of normal sequence for his or her undergraduate plan of study, they will not fall out of sequence for their engineering management degree. So in that shifting and rearranging, what we find is that they will probably, and in most cases, get ahead in the engineering management program because they are out of sequence for the undergraduate degree, and then they will continue on and catch up with their undergraduate degree when they return to the campus.
Great. Another question received this evening. Is it possible to use Rose Squared to get a master's degree in the same discipline as the bachelor's degree along with engineering management?
Yes, but that would take a little longer. We have seen that. I have a case of that right now where an individual is looking at an undergrad biomedical, a master's engineering management, and then a master's in biomedical. It is a very unique scenario, and so we are doing a quarter by quarter assessment of that student's progress, and we don't know if it will take 5 years or if it will take 4 2/3, but we are working diligently with that student to outline and make sure that we are expressing the expectations necessary to complete both degrees at the master's level.
This is a good question because I've seen it a few times.
Okay.
just to clarify, the question says,
Mhm.
are the 30 hours needed from pre-Rose-Hulman?
Yes.
And if you don't have quite 30, there are ways to kind of make it up at Rose
Yes.
to potentially still be eligible for the program.
Yes. So you can do it in a multitude of ways. You can either take them while you're at Rose, meaning in certain quarters when you have a low count of classes. So there may be an opportunity where you have 4 classes, but it's only 14 hours. You can take an additional class and you'll be up to 18, but that's not an unheard, that's almost kind of common number of classes or hours that a student would take. And then you can pick up ground in that particular quarter. And then the other option is to do something during the summer if we want to maintain that 4-year window of opportunity. And that can be done through online courses, or if you're studying abroad, the courses that you take while you are abroad.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are there any specific classes the students need to have credit for from AP, IB, dual credit, etc., or is it just a fixed number of hours?
The ideal scenario is to come in with an with advanced placement in Calc 1, Calc 2, some level of humanities, whether that's political science, economics, micro or macro, speech, or those become the ideal ones. In reality, we believe that a student that has approximately 30 or more hours can do the programming. It's just the arrangement of the schedule. For example, in some in certain degree programs, they will have a science elective, a math elective in the junior year. But if that shows up in the 30 hours that are being brought in, we would sub those out and put in engineering management courses. So we're trying to just, I shouldn't say just, we are trying to arrange the schedule that takes advantage of the courses and credits that the students have when they come to Rose-Hulman.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. Another kind of logistical question here.
Yes.
For students starting in the fall of 2021, after filling out the, oh, sorry, my question just got scrolled down. After filling out the intent form, when does the selection of courses to participate in the Rose Squared program take place?
In this year 2.
Year 2, okay.
Yep. And that happens either through a seminar and or a regular course, depending on how many transfer credits they bring in.
Okay. Melinda, I have a question for you now, actually. Will the financial aid be extended to 5 years or beyond if the Rose Squared program extends for a student?
Yes, it will. It will go into the 13th quarter, which is the first quarter of the 5th year. As long as the student just needs a little bit more time, is making good progress, yes, it would go into that 13th quarter.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing quite a few questions about how many hours is each AP class. The way I understand it, which Craig, I could be wrong, but we don't necessarily use AP classes as hours. They come in for a course, which each course at Rose-Hulman is for a certain amount of hours.
That is correct. So when an individual, I saw this morning, probably found it already, they had AP Calculus 1. So that course came in as AP Calculus 1. In our system, that came in as 5 credit hours. That person also had AP Calculus 2. So it came in as 5 credit hours. And so in that position, that student had 10 hours that I was easily able to see. They also had a macroeconomics, which came in for 4 hours. So whatever the course is, we will then map it onto our system and then award the appropriate credit hours for it.
Thank you. Let's see. if you're scheduled to start in the fall, can you come to campus early in the summer to help build the 30 hours?
Oh, by all means, by all means. That would be an exciting way to do it. That would also allow for a good transition to Rose life. And you could start the process of getting ahead, but also getting ahead socially and professionally. And that you could begin to interface with all the agencies on campus and start mapping out a plan that's specific to that particular student.
This is a good question we haven't seen yet.
Okay.
Are the amount of electives restricted for a Rose Squared student?
I'm not sure I understand that question. Are the amount of electives? The answer, what I'm interpreting as electives are the courses that students have in their degree program that are considered to be electives, where they have choice amongst the courses. The answer there is no, except if you're in civil engineering. They're very restrictive.
Okay. Can a student get their AP/dual credit hours reviewed in advance to coming to Rose-Hulman before they make a decision on Rose?
Yes, I have several of those set up for on Friday. And so typically what I would do is that student would share with me what classes they have. If they are AP, IB, or from another university or college, then I can quickly make that calculus for them. If it is from another department, say math, science, the humanities, I would just set up a quick meeting with those individuals to get that information before I have my conversation with the student.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer in total is yes, we can do the pre-screening to allow them to have a clear picture of what they will be awarded in terms of transfer credit.
Yes. This is a good question as well. I know specifically like humanities normally would limit the amount of maybe dual credit courses they would allow to come in. And so this question is asking, the website says that incoming freshmen are limited to 3 credits for each area of study. Do our squared students not have to adhere to this rule?
They do, and typically what will happen is they will have a couple courses that come in the math. They will have a couple courses that come in the humanities, and then if it's AP credit, it's awarded. I mean, we don't penalize students for having the AP credit.
Yeah. What about multivariable calculus? What would that look like into hours, if you know?
Multivariate, I believe they're speaking about Calc 1, that's 5 hours. Each of the Calc courses are 5 credit hours, Calc 1, 2, and 3.
Okay. Let's see. All right, so many questions, hard for me to get through them all. How can I set up my credits being evaluated for transfer? I'll make sure before we close out, I'll put, you know, the admissions email as well as Craig, your email, and you can reach out to really either or, and we'll get you set up to get an idea of what credits would come in if you're wanting that like pre-screening, like you'd said. Another easy little question I can answer. Do we need a minimum score from an AP exam for transfer? Yes, we need scores of 4s or 5s. We don't accept anything lower than that. Let's see what else. Okay, lots of questions about how to set up a meeting. So you might have a lot of meeting requests coming for you. Again, I'll put emails at the bottom when we're finished up here. Mm-hmm. The multivariable question was referring to Calc 3 specifically.
Yes, all the calcs are 5 credit hours.
Okay.
Calc 1, Calc 2, and Calc 3.
Okay.
And again, Rose chops theirs up slightly different than other institutions. And so I just know for sure that Calc 1, Calc 2, and Calc 3 all bear 5 credit hours.
Right. Yes. Okay. I just put the admissions email. So you can reach out specifically to admissions and we'll get you set up. That's probably the easiest way to kind of direct people. Craig, I don't know if you'd like to give your email out as well, or if you'd like them just to come straight through admissions. It doesn't matter.
Either way is fine. Is there a way for me to do that now, or is it easy for you to just pass that on to them?
You could probably type it in the chat. That would probably be the easiest way if you can do that.
All right, to everyone.
All right. Any other final questions that we haven't gotten to? We'd be happy to answer. Thank you, Craig, for putting your email in there. I know this is a lot of information. I did want to mention I had a few questions about this program. This is a brand new program, so we don't have any data. I know there's a few questions on like, what are these graduates making? What does this program look like in the past for students? This is a brand new program, like officially.
Yes.
So there's not any specific data for the program.
That is correct. There are students who have achieved this process of acquiring their 2 degrees in 4 years, but it was done in an informal manner. There are approximately 6 or 7 of them out there. At that particular time, we were not capturing their data when it came to salary because it wasn't something formal. It was very unique. However, again, I do know that agencies will recognize and acknowledge the extra layer of credentialing financially and through other benefits and opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Great. Another good question, can you do the Novelet Scholars program? So if you were chosen as a Novelet Scholars and also do the Rose Squared program? You can.
We've been talking with Dr. Christine Buckley about various levels of programming, and we look forward to it. And I think the Novelet Scholars are well positioned to do well at the institution and within the program.
Great. All right. Well, I think we've gotten through almost all of our questions for this evening. Again, our emails are in the chat. So if you do have questions, feel free to email admissions or financial aid or Craig directly with anything. But we thank you all so much. And thank you to Craig and Melinda for taking your evenings to hype up this new program we're really excited about. It looks like we have lots of excitement coming from prospective students as well. So I will stick around for a couple minutes. So if there's any other questions, feel free to send them in the chat. But I thank you all so much for your time and have a great evening.
Yep, Ashlyn, I'll hang out for a few more minutes as well. If there's some questions I might be able to answer.
Okay. Is the master's looked at by the employing public as an MBA?
It is not. It is very distinct because the MBA is a very specific degree program. There are many courses that overlap between the engineering management degree and the MBA, but a primary difference is that we try to extend their technical capability as well as their managerial capability, where the MBA is not going to extend their technical abilities.
Okay. Melinda, question for you.
Uh-huh.
Do I need to file the FAFSA for merit scholarships?
No, they do not have to file the FAFSA, but we would like for you to, because we give out more need-based aid than the federal government. So what I usually tell parents is file it the freshman year, and if it doesn't bring in any need-based aid, then just don't file it the next. But no, you do not have to file it to be considered for merit.
Okay. All right. I can't, for some reason, I can't scroll down to see any other questions in the chat. It's not working for me. So I think we'll just call it there. Or we could be here for a while. So thank you both so much. Again, thank you all. If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out and we're happy to help.
Yes, we are.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.